Hello YouTube! So I think it's time for me to do a quick summary of all the modifications I've done to my Bix3 up to this point. The main idea behind this aircraft is to act as a platform to carry different type of proof of concepts that I have. And to be able to do that, it has to be fairly modular. So I have done quite a few modifications to it. Right, so this is the pretty side of my Bix3. If we turn it around, we will see there is a lot of things pointing out, and there's signs of this that it has been modified. So the first problem I had to address, and I think all Bix3 owners agrees with me when I claim that the tail is quite big and it takes a lot of space when you want to store it at home. So I don't have too much space at the moment, so I needed to be able to pack neatly back into its original box. So that means the tail cannot be glued in, because then it will not fit. So I did a removable tail. That's another thing. I've been quite inspired by quite a few people that have done different type of mods to their Bix3s, and yeah, I just want to give them all credits as well. And hopefully someone will be inspired by my mods in the same way I was inspired by theirs to, get the most out of this aircraft. Right, so the removable tail, it's quite rigid, I would say. I don't think it's going to be any more rigid if one would have glued it in as suggested in the owner's manual. Mine is to remove this. I just have to undo one screw, and it should pop loose quite neatly. And this is pretty much the only thing I have to attach, except for the main wing, when I go to my local airfield to have some fun. Right, so that's it. That's how easy that came off. The next modification I did was I moved the servos from its original position up front to the tail, and the reason for doing that is, it's actually two reasons. One is to shift weight further back, as this aircraft will be quite nose heavy, so a bit more weight on the back would not be bad. And the second one was that I'm gonna do a lot of experimentation and changing what's actually is inside this aircraft. I needed to gain access to the inside of the fuselage quite easily, and my hands would not fit into this hole properly. I couldn't do any proper work in there. So I had to come up with a way of having one of the sides of the fuselage being detachable. So as you can see, it's really rigid. It will not come loose at all. It's really stable as well. So I think I've done a quite good job on this point, on this topic. Anyway, so let me undo the screws holding it together, and I'll show you the rest. Right, so I'm just gonna pause while I do this. You don't have to sit by and look at me undoing a lot of screws. That's no fun. Right, so that's done. So the inside of the, well, not the inside, but to gain access to the inside, one just has to undo the screws, slide the locking mechanism back, and off you go. It pops off. So that's quite nice, and you gain proper access to the inside, and all the electronic switch is going to be here. There was an issue though with this modification, and it took me some time to come up with a good enough solution, and that is, as I haven't had the maiden of this aircraft just yet, I don't know if this really would have been a problem or not, but I thought, well, it's not a problem, let's handle it, and I did. And so when you have, as you see, I can this part of the tail, normally this is, comes in two halves, and you glue everything together, and then you start with this. If you want access to the inside, you can do it from here or there, from here or there, and that's not good enough for me. So I had to cut one part of it loose, and that made me cut one of the halves into two, and glue one of the parts and have the one unglued, or not glued. But that's a problem when it comes to stability in the fuselage. If you have a quick look here, I'm gonna try to get this properly as done. Right, there we are. So you can see there's quite a lot of flex in the tail, and that's wouldn't do in my opinion. So I came up with a solution which is similar to a canopy locking mechanism. So there's actually two 5mm carbon fiber rods, one on each side, and there's a 3mm rod going inside those two, creating quite a lot better stability. It's quite rigid, and I think that will be it has a little bit of play, but I think it's going to be good. Shouldn't be too big of a problem. Of course, this one will be, I will cut this off even further, as I don't need it to point out this, or be this long. But even if it it has to point out a bit to be able to actually operate it, it still might get stuck in grass and so on when you land. But it should be fine, because it normally would land this way, and anything hitting it would just not opening it at least. So I think I'll be good with this one. Right, so let's have a look at that from the inside. So that's the 3mm rod going into the 5mm rod there, and it slides back and forth like this. It's a simple solution. Right, so what else did I do for this modification? Of course, I needed a bit more weight further back, and so I mounted my S-back at the tail as well, as that it needs quite a lot of cooling anyway, so it's nice. It's good if it's outside of the fuselage. Right, so what else? I actually utilized, I wanted to run this by 2.25 lipos, and I need them to be in series. No, in parallel, sorry, my bad. And to be able to do that, I created a kind of mounting plate where I had to insert a piece of wood and a little bit of a cushion to keep it level and stable. Everyone who is in this hobby knows that a loose battery inside a fuselage is never a good idea, and there will be loads of electronics back here which wouldn't do too well if this came sliding back, and the CG would be messed up. And yeah, so it has to be the batteries has to stay where they are meant to be, and nothing else. So I came up with this solution. That should work quite nice, I guess. Another positive effect with having the a detachable fuselage is that you can gain access to the mounting point for the candy dropper, which is a quite large piece of metal which weighs a fair amount of grams. So why fly around with weight that you don't need? That's so I can easily remove it and add it if I need it, and so on. So it's good. Another thing is in regard to these servos. They will be glued in slightly, but they are quite well. I think that oh no, I probably need to glue them a little bit. See if you see that in there. So there is servo leads going to the inside of the fuselage and through a carbon rod which points out here. So these will be fitted with extensions and go into the flight controller, which will be mounted here. There will be a flight controller as my intentions for this aircraft is to be able to fly autonomously, and yeah, well, that's the topic for another video, I guess. Right, did I do? Yeah, of course I did one more mod, which is, I think, quite common for Bix3 owners, and that is stabilizing the nose slightly further. I inserted more carbon fiber. This is the original one, but I also inserted those, one of these into the nose on that side, as well on this half. So the nose is really stiff, and if I have a hard landing it should be fine, I guess. At least better than without those extra carbon rods in there. They don't weigh anything, so not a problem. Right guys, I think that's all the modifications I've done up to this point. The next step for me is to add the old electronics into it. Yeah, there's one more thing. I will, but it's part of the electronics, I will add multiplex connectors to be able to detach and attach the wing, the main wing, quite easily, and without having to bother which cable goes where. You know, they can only fit in one way, and that should be user friendly. Right. Okay, I think that's it. I'll keep you posted on the further progress. Alright, thank you. Take care. Bye bye.